Hey everybody, I am Scott Stanton, the original Tombstone tourist, and today I am with my favorite tour guide from Richmond, Virginia. I met him over at Hollywood Cemetery, and he said, Scott, do you want to know where Arthur Ashe is buried? Because he's not buried at Hollywood Cemetery, he's buried at Woodland Cemetery, about 10 minutes away, just outside Richmond, Virginia. And I said, do I? Absolutely. Where is Arthur Ashe buried? And if you come through the gates and you hang a left right at the first road and drive maybe 150 feet, we are at this beautiful monument to one of the greatest tennis players ever to play the game, Arthur Ashe. Now, Arthur Ashe, he is known for a number of records in tennis. He is the first black man to win singles titles in Wimbledon, Australian, US Open. You know what? I don't even have to remember the facts because all of his titles are right here at the bottom of his monument. But that's not why we're here, because we could talk about Arthur Ashe and athletics until we're blue in the face. The reason I invited Bob here is Bob is a local. He has been in Richmond, Virginia for decades, and he's going to tell us what Arthur Ashe meant to this city.
Arthur Ashe is the favorite son of Richmond. But when he grew up, it was a segregated South. So the best tennis courts were in Byrd Park, but he wasn't allowed to play in Byrd Park. He had to play at the North Side tennis courts.
And this was in the 1960s.
1960s. Segregated South really didn't become homogenized, I guess you could call it, till the 1980s. So the whole time he was growing up and learning to play tennis, it was under a segregated society. So he played with one hand tied behind his back, and yet he still became a champion. And so he is the favorite son of Richmond, Virginia.
Now I heard even as late as high school, when he was winning all these competitions on the weekends and around and out of state, that his last year of high school, they had to move him to St. Louis and live with a relative there because they wouldn't even allow him to compete in the indoor
tennis court. Yep.
Oh my gosh. And he went on to begin, I mean, he immediately came out the gate swinging, and he was just a phenomenon. Now, sadly, in his mid-30s, Arthur Ashe had his first heart attack. And oh my gosh, he was, one artery was 100% blocked, another one was 95. He was very, very close to not being with us at a very young age. So he went and did his bypass surgery, and he did all that, and he came out okay, still had a few other issues, but a couple years later he had to have a second surgery to fix some issues from the first. And that's when they believed that he contracted HIV. And then they kept it a family secret, and then US Today one day said, you know what, we're going to tell everybody your secret. So he had to come out ahead of time, and he was actually glad, but boy, USA Today got ripped on for that bit of a smear journalism. But he died sadly at a very, very young age. But his name is virtually everywhere in this town.
And he got it from a blood transfusion. And coincidentally, one of my uncles that worked in a mortuary in the 70s, he caught AIDS just working on the bodies, because back in the 70s and the 80s, we didn't understand HIV. And so it was just the contact with the blood.
The amazing thing is, you didn't even realize that hospitals didn't really test the blood. They just assumed it was fine.
Yeah. Amazing.
So, is this the only monument to Arthur?
No. On Monument Avenue, there was a big controversy in the 1990s because Monument Avenue at that time was all Confederate soldiers. But at the west end of near Hamilton Street, there is a statue of Arthur Ashe. Amazing. And there were all kinds of protests when it was put up, but he was a favorite son. And so when you drive, his statue is still there. It wasn't removed with all the rest. So it's still there. And when you drive by the statue, he's very high up, and then surrounding him are children looking up at Arthur Ashe. and he's holding a tennis racket in one hand and a book in the other hand. And when you look at that statue, look at the significance. He's holding the book higher than the tennis racket.
Amazing.
Because he put knowledge ahead of sports.
That is awesome.
And
That is
so,
awesome.
unless you see it and understand it, and when I used to do tours, bus tours, and we would go by, I would always tell the children, I said, oh, by the way, he's not trying to hit the kids with a tennis racket. He's just pointing out knowledge above sports.
So Bob, in conclusion, if we wanted a tour over at Hollywood Cemetery, how would we find you?
You can either find me, number one, you can either contact Hollywood Cemetery themselves. They know me very well. RVA Wheels, they do small gem car tours, or they can just look me up on the internet, put in Bob Olson, Hollywood Cemetery, and I'll pop up.
Awesome. Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
I am Scott Stanton, the original Tombstone Tourist, and you can find me at thetombstonetourist.com. Once again, thank you for visiting, and we love you and like us and all that great stuff. And again, I want to thank Bob for joining me. Have a great day.